Most people only realize the value of time when it's too late. Think about it. How many dreams have you postponed? How many moments have you wasted convinced that you'll have plenty more? The truth is, time isn't waiting for you. It's slipping away right now, this very second, and most people live as if they have an unlimited supply until suddenly they don't. Picture this. You wake up one morning and a decade has passed. The things you swore you'd do someday, still undone. The places you wanted to visit, still unexplored. The version of yourself you thought you'd become, still just an idea. And then, one day, you wake up and realize you ran out of time. This isn't just some abstract fear. It's a reality for countless people who reach the end of their lives filled with regret. Regret for the dreams they never chased, the words they never spoke, the risks they never took. Studies show that our biggest regrets aren't about the things we did, but the things we didn't do. The opportunities we let slip through our fingers because we thought we had more time. But here's the shift. What if, instead of seeing time's passing as a curse, you saw it as your greatest gift? What if knowing that time is limited was the very thing that set you free? Because when you truly understand that someday doesn't exist, you stop waiting and you start living. By the end of this video, you'll have a new way of looking at time, one that will change everything. You'll see why urgency isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. And if you're ready to break free from the illusion of endless time and start living now, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Why do we act like we have unlimited time? Why do we delay, postpone, and convince ourselves that later is always an option? The answer lies deep in how our brains perceive time and the illusion that it stretches on forever. When we're young, time feels abundant. A single summer feels endless, and a year is a lifetime. But as we age, time accelerates, or at least it feels like it does. Psychologists call this the time perception paradox. When we experience new things, our brains record more detail, making time feel slow. But when life becomes repetitive, when we fall into routines, when we live on autopilot, our brain stops recording as much. The result? Years blur together, and before we know it, time has vanished. This is why so many people fall into someday syndrome. They assume there's always more time. They'll quit that draining job someday. They'll travel someday. They'll start that passion project when they're ready. But someday is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Because the future isn't guaranteed, only this moment is. And here's the real deal. Research shows that when people reflect on their biggest regrets, they aren't about mistakes or failures. They regret the chances they didn't take, the love they didn't express, the opportunities they let pass them by. Not because they didn't care, because they thought they had more time. Every second that passes is one you'll never get back. Yet most people don't wake up to this truth until it's too late. So if time is slipping away, why do we keep waiting? If you could speak to someone at the very end of their life, what do you think they'd say? Would they talk about their bank balance? The hours they spent scrolling on their phone? The opinions of strangers that once kept them up at night? No. In the final moments, people don't regret what they did. They regret what they didn't do. Palliative nurse Bronnie Ware spent years caring for patients on their deathbeds. She recorded their biggest regrets, and the same painful truths came up again and again. Not pursuing their dreams. So many people admitted they had dreams, big ones, but fear, doubt, and the expectations of others held them back. They chose safety over passion, only to realize too late that life isn't a rehearsal. Wasting time on things that didn't matter. Think about how much of your time goes to things that bring zero meaning. Mindless scrolling, toxic relationships, worrying about things you can't control. When the end comes, none of it mattered. Not expressing love freely. People regret the words they never said, the I love you left unspoken, the apology never given, the relationships they let drift away. Fear of rejection, pride, or hesitation stopped them, and by the time they were ready, it was too late. Caring too much about what others thought. So many admitted they lived cautiously, holding back because they feared judgment. But in the end, they realized no one else was keeping track. All those opinions they worried about, they didn't matter. Not living in the present, always chasing the next thing, the next job, the next milestone, the next phase of life, never truly being where they were. And suddenly, there were no nexts left. But here's the thing, you're still here. you still have time to change your story. The question is, will you? Because the next moment isn't promised, and regret is built one postponed decision at a time. But what if, instead of fearing time, you saw it as your greatest gift? Let's talk about how to use it before it's gone. What if, instead of fearing time, you saw it as your most powerful tool? What if, instead of resisting its passing, you used it to fuel your greatest work, your deepest relationships, and the fullest version of your life? The truth is, the fact that time is limited isn't a curse, it's what makes life meaningful. Because when something is infinite, we take it for granted. But when we know it's scarce, we cherish it. The key is to stop seeing time as something slipping away and start using it as the greatest motivator you have. The ancient Stoics had a practice called memento mori, a reminder that one day you will die. But this wasn't meant to be depressing, it was meant to be liberating. When you remember that your time is finite, you stop hesitating, you stop waiting for one day and start living this day. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors, once wrote, "You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow." But tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So what actually matters? If you knew you had only a year left, would you still stress over minor inconveniences? Would you still waste time proving yourself to people who don't even care? Or would you finally focus on what truly matters, your passions, your purpose, the people you love? The problem is, most people live as if they have forever, ignoring the fact that time is slipping through their fingers every single day. There is no more waiting. You don't need to feel ready, because readiness is a lie. You tell yourself you'll start when the timing is perfect, when you're more prepared, when life slows down. But that moment never comes. The people who create extraordinary lives don't wait until they feel ready. They start, even when it's messy, even when they don't have all the answers. And then something incredible happens. Action creates readiness. The moment you start moving, momentum builds. And suddenly you're no longer waiting to live, you are living. You don't have endless time, but what you do have is this moment, right now. The question is, what will you do with it? Now let's take this even deeper. Imagine you had only 1 year left to live. What would you change? Let's step into that mindset, right now. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you have exactly 1 year left to live. No extensions, no second chances, just 365 days, and then it's over. How would that change the way you live? What would you stop doing immediately? What fears would suddenly seem insignificant? What dreams would you finally stop postponing? Most people avoid thinking about this, as if time will somehow slow it down. But the reality is, most of us don't wake up to life's urgency until it's too late. We assume there will always be another year, another chance, another tomorrow. But what if there isn't? If you only had 1 year left, you wouldn't waste time on petty arguments or meaningless distractions. You wouldn't keep putting off the things that truly matter. You would tell the people you love how much they mean to you. You would take the risks you've been avoiding. You would stop being a spectator in your own life and start living it with everything you have. You don't have to wait for a crisis to force you into this mindset. You don't have to reach the end to start living like time actually matters. The truth is, your life is already passing. The clock is already ticking. The difference between those who truly live and those who simply exist is a single decision. The decision to stop waiting. So here's the challenge. What's one thing you can do today to start living fully? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because if you wait until tomorrow, you might realize it's too late. Time is slipping through your fingers, but that is not a tragedy. It is your greatest gift. Because the fleeting nature of life is what makes every second electric with possibility. Right now, in this moment, you are standing at the edge of something extraordinary. A life that is no longer dictated by waiting, by hesitation, by the illusion of someday. This is your wake-up call. This is the universe shaking you by the shoulders and reminding you that you are alive. You have breath in your lungs, fire in your soul, and a destiny that will not wait for you to be ready. The world does not need another person half living, postponing, drifting. It needs you fully present, fully awake, fully alive. And here's the truth no one tells you. There is no secret formula. There is no perfect moment. There is only now, this wild, unpredictable, magnificent now. The only thing separating you from the life you dream of is the decision to start. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because life does not pause for you to catch up. And you are not alone in this. This community, this movement, is built for those who refuse to waste another second asleep to their own potential. We are here to push each other, to remind each other, to awaken each other. Because the truth is, when you see the power of time, when you finally feel it, you don't just change your life, you change everything. So here's my challenge to you. Not a question, not a suggestion, a challenge. Leave a comment below and tell me the one thing you are going to do today to honor the time you have left. Say it out loud, write it down, make it real. And if this hit you deep, if you feel this fire inside you, subscribe now. Thanks for watching, and if you're ready for more, if you're ready to keep unlocking the limitless power inside you, then don't stop here. The next video is waiting for you. Let it pull you deeper, let it shake you awake, let it remind you again and again that your time is now.